Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You've heard it your whole life. Sounds like a golden rule of health, right? Well, not really. That line didn't come from some groundbreaking science. It came from marketing. Back in the late 1800s, John Harvey Kellogg, yes, the cornflakes guy, started pushing breakfast like it was the secret to a better life. Then, in the 1900s, food companies ran with it, selling cereal as essential, and it worked. So well, in fact, that today skipping breakfast feels almost criminal. But here's the truth, science doesn't back it up. Eating breakfast isn't a magical key to weight loss, sharper focus, or a longer life. What really matters? Your overall diet and lifestyle, not whether you ate eggs at 8 a.m. Some people genuinely feel great with breakfast. Others feel sluggish and prefer to wait. Intermittent fasting? That's literally skipping breakfast, and millions of people thrive on it. Your body runs on energy from the food you've eaten over time, not the clock on the wall. Just listen to your body. Camels store water in their humps. When you think of camels, you probably picture walking water tanks. Those big humps must be storing gallons of water, right? Sounds logical. A desert animal with a giant hump must be a built-in canteen. But here's the twist. Those humps aren't full of water at all. They're made of fat. Camels can pack up to 80 pounds of fat in a single hump. Basically, their portable energy reserve. Think of it like a snack bar they can rely on when food is scarce. When times get tough, their bodies burn that fat to survive. So, if it's fat and not water, why do we think camels are walking water tanks? Because camels are hydration masters. They can drink up to 40 gallons of water at once, and then go for weeks without another sip. Their bodies are perfectly designed to conserve water. Their red blood cells are oval-shaped, letting blood flow even when dehydration sets in. They can let their body temperature swing, so they sweat less. Every part of them is built to survive the desert. But water in the hump? That's just Hollywood. Humans only have 5 senses. You've probably heard this since kindergarten. Sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Sounds normal, right? But it's way off. The idea of 5 senses goes all the way back to Aristotle, and we've just been repeating it ever since. In reality, scientists have identified at least 9 senses, and some say over 20. On top of the big 5, you've got balance, called the vestibular sense, which keeps you from falling over every time you stand up. Then there's proprioception, your body's awareness of where your limbs are without looking. Ever touch your nose with your eyes closed? That's proprioception. You also have thermoception, sensing heat and cold, nociception for pain, and even interoception, which tells you things like when you're hungry or need to breathe. If we only had 5 senses, walking in a straight line or even staying alive would be a nightmare. So, next time someone says humans have 5 senses, tell them they forgot at least 4 more. And that's being generous. You should pee on jellyfish stings. Maybe you've done it, or maybe you've seen it in movies. Someone gets stung by a jellyfish, and their friend steps on with the ultimate survival move, pee on the sting. Hollywood makes it look like a cure, but in reality, it can make things worse. Here's why. Jellyfish stings come from tiny venom-filled cells called nematocysts. When they fire, they inject venom into your skin, and some of these stingers can stick around, loaded and ready to go. The last thing you want is to trigger them again. Depending on its salt concentration and temperature, it can actually cause those cells to release more venom. So, congratulations. You've just been peed on, and it now hurts more. The real fix? Rinse with seawater, not fresh water, because that also makes the stingers fire. And then soak the area in hot water. Heat helps break down the toxins and calm the pain. Or, if you've got it, vinegar works for certain species. Everyone thinks chameleons can just go invisible when they feel like it, blending into any background like some reptile magician. Green jungle, they turn green. Sandy desert, they go tan. Sounds cool, but it's mostly a myth. Chameleons don't change color to vanish into the scenery. They do it to communicate and regulate temperature. Those dramatic color shifts are basically just visual moods. Feeling aggressive? Bright colors. Relaxed? Duller shades. Hot and need to cool down? They lighten up to reflect heat. Cold, they go darker to soak up warmth. How do they pull it off? Their skin is packed with special cells called chromatophores and nanocrystals that reflect light differently depending on how they expand or contract. This creates everything from subtle shade shifts to full-on rainbow displays. But blending in like a perfect camouflage ninja? That's Hollywood magic. Sure, They might match some natural colors by coincidence, but they're not out here repainting themselves to blend in and become invisible. Carrots give you night vision. You've heard this one forever. Eat your carrots and you'll be able to see in the dark. Sounds awesome, right? Sadly, it's pure myth, with a little history twist. Carrots do have beta-carotene, which your body turns into vitamin A, and vitamin A is crucial for healthy eyes. But does it give you night vision powers? Not even close. If you're severely deficient in vitamin A, carrots will help restore normal vision, but they won't turn you into a nocturnal predator. So, where did this myth come from? The British Royal Air Force had radar tech that let them spot enemy planes at night, but they didn't want Germany to know. So, they claimed their pilots had super night vision because they ate tons of carrots. The story spread like wildfire and people still believe it today. Carrots are great for you, but if you're hoping to ditch your headlights after a few carrots, forget it. The only thing carrots give you at night is orange teeth. Blood is blue inside your vein. You probably heard someone say, your blood is blue until it hits the air. Makes sense if you've ever looked at your veins. They look blue, right? But here's the truth. Human blood is never blue. Not in your veins, not in your heart, not anywhere. It's always red, just different shades depending on oxygen levels. Bright red when it's loaded with oxygen, darker red when it's carrying less. So, that's an optical illusion caused by how light penetrates your skin and bounces back. Blue light has a shorter wavelength, so it scatters more easily than red light, making veins appear bluish under the skin. The blue blood idea got so popular that some people even think your blood turns red only when it touches oxygen. Nope, because it was already red. This rumor may also be due to some animals, like horseshoe crabs, that actually do have blue blood. But humans? We're stuck with red. Blue blood royalty? That's just a metaphor. Never wake a sleepwalker. If you've ever seen someone sleepwalk, you've probably heard, don't wake them. It's dangerous. The story goes that if you wake them, they'll have a heart attack, go into shock, or lose their mind forever. Sounds terrifying, but it's pure myth. Waking a sleepwalker won't kill them. It might confuse or start them, but that's about it. Sleepwalking happens during deep sleep, so when you wake them, their brain is basically rebooting. They'll probably be groggy and have no idea what's going on, but they'll survive just fine. So, where did this idea come from? Mostly old superstitions and fear of messing with sleep, because sleep has always seemed mysterious and sacred. The real danger isn't waking them, it's letting them roam. Sleepwalkers can do risky things. Wander outside, climb stairs, even drive cars in rare cases. That's where people get hurt. So the best move? Gently guide them back to bed if you can. If that's possible, just wake them. Lightning never strikes the same place twice. You've probably heard this one as a metaphor for rare events. Sounds dramatic, like nature's got a rule book. But here's the truth. Lightning doesn't care about sayings. It absolutely strikes the same place over and over. In fact, tall structures like skyscrapers, radio towers, and even trees are magnets for lightning. The Empire State Building gets hit about 20 to 25 times every single year. Why? Because lightning takes the path of least resistance, and a big metal tower sticking into the sky is basically an invitation. So next time someone drops that phrase, remember, if you're standing in the wrong spot during a storm, it might strike you twice, just to prove a point. Sharks can smell a drop of blood from miles away. You've seen this in every shark movie. One tiny drop of blood hits the water, and miles away, a great white goes into a frenzy, zeroing in like it has some sort of GPS. Sounds terrifying, right? But in reality, that's Hollywood drama, not science. Sharks do have an amazing sense of smell, one of the best in the animal kingdom. But the whole miles away idea is massively overblown. In truth, they can detect blood at concentrations of about 1 part per million. That's insanely good, but it translates to something like a drop of blood in an Olympic swimming pool, not the entire ocean. Currents, tides, and water movement scatter scent quickly. So no, if you cut your finger in Hawaii, a shark in California isn't coming for you. They're impressive predators, but they're not horror movie level. Still, probably don't test this by bleeding in the water, because if a shark's nearby, it's definitely going to notice. You lose most body heat through your head. You've probably heard this from every parent ever. Wear a hat or you'll freeze. Most of your body heat escapes through your head. Sounds scientific, right? But it's a myth born from bad science. The idea came from a 1950s military experiment where soldiers in freezing conditions wore winter gear except on their heads. Of course, They lost more heat there. That was the only bare skin exposed. The truth. Heat escapes from any uncovered skin, proportional to surface area. Your head is only about 10% of your body, so unless you're some giant floating head, it's not where you're losing most warmth. If you went outside naked wearing just a hat, you'd still freeze in minutes. Of course, a hat still helps in winter, but so do pants, gloves, socks, and literally anything else covering your skin. If you want to stay warm, dress like a human. Owls are wise. Owls have been symbols of wisdom forever. Ancient Greece made them Athena's mascot. Storybooks give them glasses, cartoons treat them like professors. But in reality, owls aren't geniuses. They're strong, silent hunters. Yes, incredible hunters, but that's instinct, not IQ. Compare them to crows or ravens, which can solve puzzles, recognize human faces, and use tools. Owls? They just sit there, looking mysterious. Their huge eyes and fixed stare make them seem deep, but that's just biology, net philosophy. Next time you see an owl staring into the distance, it's not pondering life's big questions, it's thinking mouse or frog.